Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay, and this is Life with Lindsay. Today, we have a WIP Chat for you. But before we get into it, if you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Lindsay. I do mainly diamond painting and some other crafting-related content, and I would love for you to like, subscribe, hit the bell, hop aboard the Hot Mess Express. Let's all be friends. If you've been here before, hi, welcome. If you do not know what a WIP Chat is, that is when I work on my current WIP, WIP, which is work in progress. I am currently working on Burnout from Crystal Canvas Art Designs. Whew, I always get the lettering and the words mixed up. If you'd like to see the unboxing for that, I'll link that up in the eye. By now, I assumed I would be done, but haha, not the case. Not the case at all. So, anyway, I'm going to be working on this. You can work on whatever it is that you want to be working on. You can work on another craft project. You can work on your own WIP. You can work on some household chores. You can listen while you're driving, while you're working, while you're pretending to work, while you are just needing some company. Use it like a podcast, if you will. So yeah, that's all about this. I just like to say, my kitchen timer that I've used for 4 years, this finally gave way. I put a new battery in and it still wasn't keeping time, so I bought a new one, which, you know, the general concept is the same. It's a little bit more flimsy. It did not come with a battery, which, let me tell you, that was annoying. But it's been 4 years with that timer, so, you know, it's about time. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't even begin to tell you. I'm having trouble with the drills wanting to stay on this kit, which there will be a post review, and spoiler alert, I'm not going to be like, this was my favorite kit of all time. So if I just ruined that for you, you don't want to watch it. I guess that was my own fault. Anyway, what I will tell you, one thing that is sticking to it is every freaking hair that's coming off my head. Good gracious, you guys. And the problem is I'm blonde, so I don't even notice there's a hair on it until I'm up on the canvas. But anyway, I was hoping to have this finished before I left for the retreat, which is in a few days if you're watching this in real time. If you are watching this the day this comes out, I have 2 days until the retreat begins. And I don't want to take this particular kit with me to the retreat because I have been dealing with a ton of popping drills. And unfortunately, I cannot roll this kit to travel with because they're just... I can't even begin to tell you how many drills I've lost on this canvas, which is frustrating and disappointing. If you guys have any recommendations on what you use to seal any crystal kits, let me know. I've actually never sealed a kit because I've never had a need to. However, there is 0% chance that I won't lose a ton of drills if I move this from this desk to somewhere else. Which, if you've been around for any length of time, you probably know that when I say I move it, I'm literally putting it on the floor in a pile with other diamond paintings because I don't actually hang any of them. You guys, there is another hair. Unless it's the same hair that I just moved and it fell back on the canvas, which is always plausible. So, there's that. Yeah, my week this week is a bit chaotic, per usual. But on top of the chaos that is my actual everyday non-YouTube life, I also have to do a million things for the retreat, and I need to pick someone up at the airport. Okay. So, in the timeline of things, Tuesday I have to go with Erica and my kiddo to Costco. So we're going to take my kiddo to school. I'm going to take my kiddo to school. And then after school, we're going to go to Costco. We're going to get all the things that we need to. We already have our list. We just didn't want to pick up the food super early. And then I've got that. And then Wednesday, take my kiddo to school, pick my kiddo up from school, drive to the airport, drive back from the airport, get dinner, get situated. Thursday, take my kiddo to school, go back to Costco, go to Party City, go to Target, go back to pick up my kiddo from school, and then head over to the retreat house so that Erica and I, with the assistance of Marlene, can get everything together for the people that are coming, 2 hours later. So, needless to say, I've got a lot to do, not a lot of time. And that doesn't even include, like, my kids' activities and the never-ending laundry. And I still haven't packed a single thing for the retreat for myself. Like, I have no clothing packed. So I probably have to do another load of laundry to get clean clothes. And then I need to, what am I working on? Okay, 6. I just forgot I was working on it as I was working on it. And I still need to go through all of, like, my diamond painting stuff and pack up all of that. And then we've got all sorts of other things happening that time is fleeting. And actually today, normally I do a grocery run on Monday after I drop my kiddo off from school. And then I record and do all of that while she's at school. And that way, over her nap, I don't have to worry about... I don't love recording when my kiddo is home, because if she needs me, as any good parent would, I'd have to stop recording. Not a big deal. But I can't always get to her as quickly as she would like, because I'm on a different story of the house, and sometimes the monitor just, doesn't register that she's trying to talk to me. It's a whole thing. But this morning I woke up and my body was just beyond exhausted, and I was physically and mentally exhausted. So I had this horrible headache. So I just opted to try to take a nap to see if that would help. Of course, I didn't do myself any favors by setting an alarm like every 15 minutes, being like, is that enough sleep? Was that enough sleep? The answer to all of it was no. I still had a headache. But then I also didn't have time to do the things that I need to do, like take a shower before I take my kiddo to do ice skating, to go skating tonight. And I had to go to the post office, and I didn't get to do that, so I had to do that later. It's just, everything has been a mess. And yeah. So, I hope that you guys are all well, now that I've already come on here and just started rambling and ranting away, which I guess is probably part of the charm while you're here. At least I tell myself that. I don't know if it's true. I never polled the people, as my daughter calls it, the people. She's always like, can I talk to the people? Yeah, sure, guy. But keep your face out of the camera. But anyway, we had a pretty busy week per usual, but I'm trying to, my husband's starting to get extended hours at work, and I don't mean he's working longer shifts. I just mean that, like, they're open later hours. So some days he's not going in till later and then coming out later, which when my daughter isn't in school, that's not a big deal. Like, he had one of those shifts this weekend, but it wasn't a big deal because I didn't have to rush to get my kid to school, from school, things like that. But I am really struggling to find a good balance on those days that are not the norm in terms of shifts. Usually on Mondays, he works till 5:30, which I can't help with because my kiddo's skating. So on those days, he usually just, like, takes a ride share to come home, which is fine, and especially, like, tonight, when he gets home, he's going to have to make some rice, which is not a big deal. I bought, like, instant rice. There are a bunch of numbers that I missed, and I don't feel like pulling them back out right now. So, you guys, I really thought this was going to move so much more quickly. I was deceived at how much confetti is truly in this. With the exception of, like, every once in a blue... Now, the center part is the skull. I have not worked on it, really. I worked on, like, the very top and the very bottom of the head. The way I'm working on this kit is not the way I work on a typical kit. Like, I'm literally working on the perimeter, because I have not figured out how to work on the middle section without having to lean over the canvas because the drills are popping off. Again, not my favorite, but I'm trying to make it work. I'm trying to make it work the best I can. So we'll see. But I thought, oh yeah, there's a lot of color blocking in this. It's deceiving how little color blocking there is. And I am definitely not somebody who enjoys confetti, but it's not just the confetti. It's that I thought this was going to move quicker. It's not moving quicker. I'm having a lot of inconsistencies. I'm having a lot of issues with the adhesive. So anyway, I hope that you guys are all well. I feel like I may have said that. Sunday we didn't really do anything. We just kind of hung around. My husband worked, so he, I think my husband worked. We might have played outside that day. I can't remember. I don't have anything on my Google Maps, which makes sense because we stayed home. My kiddo was, if you were listening to last week's, she had, we had some health stuff going on. She's not sick. It just was better for us to be home. And so that's what we did. And then the next day I had a follow-up with the pediatrician. Now, my husband had to be at work at 7 o'clock in the morning because that was my craft night. So when I have craft night, which is literally one day a month, my husband does the early shift so that when he comes home, he basically takes me to craft night and then her to ice skating. But because I had a follow-up appointment with the pediatrician just to make sure everything was good, I needed the car, and so he took an Uber into work because we didn't want to wake her up super, super early. And I made the executive decision, if you will, and I decided, I could tell, like, my kiddo was, like, dead asleep, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to let her sleep as long as she needs to sleep because obviously her body is trying to recover, right? So she did, and she slept till like 10 o'clock. So she wasn't going to school anyway. Plus, we had a pediatrician appointment, so I was like, I'll just get a doctor's note. I'm already in the office. That's what I did. But everything is good. She is back to her normal bubbly self. And it just was, it was a rough couple days at home. There's nothing worse than dealing with a kid who isn't feeling the best and can't express that. Again, another hair, you guys. I also can't tell if, like, the fans are blowing the hair back. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I've got 2 fans going. So if anybody else here has a Nest thermostat, I need to talk to you. So if you don't know what that is, it's a smart thermostat. And I live in Pennsylvania where you can have like all 4 seasons in one day. So there have been times where we keep the heat on much longer than we should just because it drops down like way, way low. But what the Nest does is it learns your routine and then it automatically starts to readjust, which is great when you have consistent weather. But we are getting to that point now where if we need heat, it's only for a portion of the day. And then the rest of the day, it's way too hot if the heat kicks on. The problem is I keep turning the thermostat like way low. I mean, like I set it so that the heat won't kick on unless it's like 65 degrees. Okay, that's a pretty reasonable, maybe 67. But it's so used to our previous routine that it keeps knocking it up to like 72 during the day, and then because it's warm outside, the inside of my house would be between 73 and 76 degrees, even when the heat's not on anymore because it brought it up to like 71, 72, and then the outside is like, hey, it's still warm, so we're just going to not let it cool down. I am like slowly dying in my house, feels like. So, I'm desperately waiting for it to like learn our routine so that I can stop with this because I don't want to, and I might have to this week. I don't want to have to change it so that it's air conditioning during the day and then the heater at night. I know eventually we're going to get to the point where we just need the air on and then we set it to a certain temperature so that it doesn't kick on until it hits. The house has gotten to a certain like warmth, which is fine, but it's driving me crazy. And even though I keep turning the thermostat down, it keeps going, nope, this is what you've wanted for the last however many months, so I'm going to jump it back up to 73 degrees. And I am, like, so over it. So we have a couple, like, Googles in our house. We have, like, Google Mini and a Google video display. And so I was hoping, I said to it the other day, I was like, turn off the heat. And I didn't know if it would work or not, and it did. So right now, there is no heater and no air conditioning running in the house. But today is a high in the 80s. So, like, I definitely don't want my heat kicking on. But I don't know if we can keep the house cool enough with just, like, our ceiling fans that we don't need to turn on the air conditioner. Obviously, that would be much more cost effective. But, oh my God, you guys, this thermostat is driving me crazy. Like, I can't tell you how many times I go downstairs and I'm like, why is it 76 degrees in my house? And I'm like, I left it, the heat set to 65. But yeah, this week is definitely one of those weeks that it's not going to be needed to have the heat on. My husband gets leery of, like, having nothing on for our kiddo when we sleep, like, no heat at all. But it's dropping into the 50s as the lows, and then in the 70s and 80s for the highs. So I definitely don't think we need the heat on this week. But that's not to say that, like, next week it won't drop back to... It's just... How long does it take for this to learn my routine? Because I am over it, you guys. And I keep telling my husband, because there's a way to set it so that it is heat for... If it drops below a certain temperature, the heat will kick on. And if it goes above a certain temperature, the air will go on. But I don't know how to set that. So maybe I need to talk to him again tonight and be like, listen, bro, I need you to reset this because I am melting. I'm not built for heat, whether it's sunlight heat or like outside, inside, doesn't matter. No heat. I am just not built for it. But on the flip side of that, if I get cold, like, it is really, really difficult for me to shake that. Which I had a situation this weekend, which I'll tell you guys about here in a few minutes. But so Monday was just after the pediatrician. I had, time, and my kiddo really wanted to go to. There's this brunch spot that we have been to quite a few times, and she was very adamant about, I want French toast, and I was like, all right, so we got French toast. She devoured that. You guys, my little girl's not such a little girl anymore. She's like, I want to use the knife, which is quite daunting, But she did it. She cut up her entire breakfast all by herself. I'm excited to see her do it on something soft. I'm nervous to see her when it's a situation where it's like, here's meat. Because I think she's going to get frustrated with the inability to cut it easily. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But she... wanted to do that, and I was like, you know what? You're feeling better. And you guys, she wasn't like a sick kind of contagious. Sick. A contagious kind of sick. So it wasn't like I was taking my sick kid out of the house or anything like that. But we did that, and then we went to visit my husband at work, and then we took him home. And then we basically swapped where he took me to craft night and then he took her to the rink. So this was Kevin from Kevin's Creations, Kevin's DP Pens. It was his birthday. So Erica, who is his wife, also known as Kevin's wife on Instagram and Facebook, she was not going to be able to make it, which was fine. I was like, I'll go by myself. But the problem is I ride with her. And so my husband dropped me off, not a problem. And then I was like, well, I'll just take like an Uber home. So at the end of craft night, I was like, oh, I should have called for my Uber. And the one woman was like, an Uber? Don't you live in this town? And I was like, yes. And she's like, any one of us can give you a ride home. So I was really, really grateful that one of the other crafters was able to give me a ride home. So that was super cool. Because normally the way it works is I go out to eat with Erica and then she drops me off, and that's like my one day a month that I get to like buck all my responsibilities. And I don't really get to buck them so much as just kind of put them aside until I get home and pick back up where I left off. But it was nice. It was still nice to be able to work and diamond paint. Of course Erica was missed, but did I bring this one with me? I think I might have brought this one with me. I can't remember now. And I struggled because of the popping drills. So I think I laid this flat in the car, which worked out fine. Normally I would roll my kits to take with me, but again, not always the option. But yeah, so again, if you guys have any sealing suggestions for crystal kits, let me know. Because I know I have like the polyurethane. I think I have it somewhere that I bought like when I first started diamond painting. And then I realized like you don't really need it if it's a decent quality kit. And not to say that this isn't a decent quality kit, but with the amount of popping that's happening, I'd like to seal it. But the problem is it's crystal, so it has a different sheen to it than regular drills. And I don't want it to be like super dull. I saw someone on Facebook use a spray adhesive, but they didn't post like the final, so I didn't know how that would look. But I am all ears if you guys have any suggestions. But anyway, I had a really good time, and then my husband took our daughter to her Learn to Skate. We are back at our home rink for Monday night Learn to Skate, and Briar got to skate with a coach that she's actually never skated with. Surprisingly, he usually only does like the higher levels, and anytime that he has done a lower level, it has been when she wasn't in that group. Like the one time he was down in like basic like 2, and she was already above that. So what they do is they cycle them through. This is a really great thing. Like if you have a kid who's interested in ice skating and you're not sure like how to start or like what the best way to do it is, I highly recommend going through a Learn to Skate program. They have all ages. Snowplow Sam is like your littlest ones from like 3 to 6 years old. And then you have your basics 1 through 6, and that is for kids, teenagers, adults, whoever. And the thing that's really nice is that if you continue to take lessons, you will get to skate with multiple coaches. So every session they swap coaches. So, you know, like let's say you have 6 coaches. Whoever was coaching basic 1 in this session might be coaching basic 2 in the next session, or might be coaching basic 3, or whatever it is. So especially if you have a kid who's staying in the same level for a while, which the higher levels, it's not uncommon for you to stay in that session for multiple, like 6-7 weeks at a time. Because there's more skills involved and higher expectations. And so, but it's a really great way if your child or teenager or adult wants to learn and wants to take private lessons. It's a really great way to get to know some of the coaches at your rink because you cycle through them. And so it's been really wonderful. Like my daughter has let me know who her favorite coaches to skate with are. I can tell you there are some coaches that she just doesn't seem to like really care and listen to at all, which again is frustrating, but it's good to know. And so we do have a coach, but if we ever needed a second coach or a coach at a different rink or something happened to our coach, whatever, like we have an idea of who she meshes well with. Because just like teachers, every coach has a different teaching style and different personality. And it's just been really wonderful. So it's nice that she got to skate with this particular coach. She really likes him. It's just unfortunate that this rink is not nearly as close as the other rink. So it kind of puts our nighttime routines on Mondays like much further on the back burner. So I was going to give her a bath this morning before school, but I forgot to set an alarm earlier, and I didn't want to. When you force her to be rushed, it just is a nightmare. So I was like, okay, well, I have 2 options. Either take her tonight after we get home and after we do all of the skating stuff, which is already going to put us like an hour after bedtime, or let her go to bed an hour after bedtime, hope she goes to bed, and then wake her up early tomorrow and take the shower. So I'm not sure. We'll kind of play it by ear because it all depends on behavior and how tired mommy and daddy are because, you know, we're part of this equation. But anyway, so I was excited. And then next day, dropped her off at school. I went to the post office for my husband. And then I did a market run. I have been struggling to find like better time frames to go to the market. I usually, as I mentioned earlier, go on Mondays. But the problem was I had my kiddo and she was home from school. And I could have done a grocery order. But because of everything that had been going on over the weekend, I didn't have time to do a full meal plan. And I just wanted to do like as little trips to the market as possible. So I ended up going on Tuesday. And let me tell you guys, holy moly, Tuesday was so much better than Monday. Now I'm like, do I need to make that my new shopping day? Because it made such a difference. Like, I can't even begin to explain. There were people restocking all of the produce. They were just so much more effective than it has been. Because I've been dealing with a lot of like, oh, I go on Monday and they're out of a lot of things. Or like the produce sucks. Although I will say, I bought a red onion. None of the red onions seemed that great. And then when I went to cut it open for my recipe, I needed it for 2 recipes. It was completely molded on the inside, and I was like, cool. So I was not super thrilled by that. I am hoping, you know what, I'm going to just do it. Sorry if I shake the camera here for a second. I forgot to plug my phone in last night, this phone, and I was a little bit nervous that it was going to die while I was recording. But I need to make sure I have enough juice on my actual cell phone, which is a different phone that I desperately needed charged. So I was charging them at the same time. But that one's at 60%. So I'm just going to do what I got to do over here. I am feeling like I've been talking for so long and nothing has been, like, it hasn't been about anything. Do you guys ever feel like that? You're like, did I ever make a point? Did I ever get to what I was trying to talk about? Or did I just, like, ramble hardcore? Which, you know, if you've been here, that's pretty much here for the rambles. What I do. I do what I do. But also, unrelated, we were talking about how I cut cable recently. If you guys have cut the cable cord, I am struggling. I haven't watched any of my shows because all of them are on a streaming platform. My husband gave me the logins and that's fine, but like now I have to download everything onto my phone because we only have one television in our house that's connected to anything. We have a second television up here in our craft space, but it is literally just plugged into the PlayStation. So that's all it has ever been. Like, it never had a cable coax or anything like that. But I am realizing that, like, not only am I not keeping up with my current shows, but like, how do you know about new shows to watch if you don't watch regular TV? Do you just wait till somebody else talks about it and it's like, this is great, you should watch it, and then you go and you stream it? Like, how does that work now? What is my life going to look like? And I was having a conversation with my daughter the other day in the car because she obviously doesn't know a world without Wi-Fi and everything on demand and all these things. And so I was explaining to her, if you are under a certain age, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But I was explaining to her that, like, if you wanted to watch a show and it was on Friday at 8 o'clock, that's when you saw it, Friday at 8 o'clock. There was no pausing, there was no fast forwarding, there was no rewinding, there was no like, oh, I missed that, what did they say? And let me rewind it. And if you didn't know when something was on, you had to pull out the TV guide. And then when it got fancy, you had the TV guide channel. And this kid is looking at me like I have 12 heads. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yes. And you had to sit there and wait. And it would show 3 channels at a time. And if you happened to miss the channel you wanted, you had to wait for it to go all the way back to the beginning. And she's like, well, how come you didn't just tell your remote? I'm like, we didn't have that. And she couldn't understand that, like, she was asking me about tablets when I was growing up. I was like, Briar, tablets didn't exist when I was a kid. Like, I had a home computer, but most of my peers did not. And my dad worked in a technology field, so I always felt like we were, like, ahead of the time with we had an Apple IIgs. And I was explaining dial-up internet, and she's just looking at me like, you are a crazy lady. What are you talking about? And it's so weird because this generation, like the Gen Alpha, like they just, no part of their life hasn't been affected by current technology. Not to say that every other generation wasn't affected by technology, but this is, I think, well, I guess Gen Z would be the first generation to grow up with technology at their fingertips, right? But do you guys associate with your generation? Like, I'm a millennial, but I'm a zennial. I'm on that cusp of I'm a very elder millennial. Like, very, very elder millennial. And so I relate to a lot of the Gen X stuff because I'm right on the border. And so there's that, like, I think it's 77 to 83 is an overlap, and they're the zennials, and that I fall into that. Because, like, my husband and I were 5 years apart. He was born in the late 70s. I was born in the early 80s. But a lot of things he'll talk about, I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no idea, no recollection. But I also realized that not only did we grow up in different generations, really, but I was the older end of the kids in my family, and he was the youngest. So a lot of things that he watched on TV, for example, he watched because he had older brothers. So he was watching things that were, a little too old for him, or he was a little too young for, I guess you want to say. Whereas I'm the opposite. I have two younger siblings that we were watching shows that were appropriate and relevant to them. So I was watching things that I was way too old to be watching. But anyway, I really don't want to change the wax. I don't know if you guys saw me just attempting to poke at it and see if that'll... Anybody else do that? You like kind of like shift the wax around in your pen before you like fully change it, hoping that it'll give you like a couple more passes. And in general, like I don't super love, because this is a crystal kit, I'm going to actually change it. You don't want super clean wax because then it like rips your wax out. Actually, let's try this. I do this sometimes, not always. I just took my wax out and I just flipped it, like literally flipped it over. I'm showing you as if you guys saw what I was doing. I'm showing you the end result. Oh my God, have I talked about the week at all? I don't even know where we're at. Tuesday, school, post office, market run. And then I took my kiddo to vote. She loves coming with mommy to vote. And they have had stickers the last couple elections, which is nice because when I moved up here, they didn't have stickers ever. And then also when I picked up my husband on the way home, I was like, and you're going to go vote now. And he's like, oh, okay. So he's like in his work uniform and everything. But usually when you show up, at least to our polling place, there's always like a couple politicians outside, campaigning to tell you to vote for them. And there was one person, I don't know what he was running for because I voted a different political party than he was, but you could tell he was really trying to like talk to us and all these things. And Briar's like, he was really nice. We should vote for him. And I was like, well, I mean, that's not really how voting works. You vote for the people that you think are going to bring the change that you desire and who have the similar beliefs to you and like things like that. And I try to make it simple enough so that she understands. And let me tell you, I can't tell you how many elections she's gone with me to where she is so disappointed that she can't vote for her grandmother. I was like, I don't think that your grandma wants to be a politician in general. So, like it's she's not upset that you didn't vote for her. But also you can't just like vote for your grandmother. Like that's not how voting works. But we have a star jar. It's a rewards jar and it is specifically for ice skating. She can earn 2 stars every time she skates. The first star is for listening to her lesson and putting in the effort and like working really hard. And the second star can only be earned if that first star was earned. So if she does a really piss poor job, no matter what, she can't get that second star. That second star is we need to get out, like get undressed, put our stuff away quickly. Because the problem is there are times where it'll take her like an hour to leave the rink. And I'm like, girl, like I got something sitting in the crock pot. Like I have to get home. We don't have the luxury of sitting here all day, contrary to your belief. So I let her pick whatever reward she wants, within reason. Like I was like, listen, I'm not going to take you to Disney or anything like that. And she's like, okay. Of course, the first thing she said to me was, I just want to spend time with you. And I'm like, well, now I'm melting because that's the sweetest thing ever. But she thought about it. She went back and forth. And then she decided that she didn't want to go she always likes the idea of going on a coffee date with mommy, which we did one day this week. And I got her a lemonade, and then she proceeded to not enjoy it because it wasn't very sweet. which is fine. But I was like, girl, I didn't pay like coffee shop prices for you to not drink this lemonade. You know what I mean? Of course, hours later, and my husband finished it, or I finished it, and I just got like the smallest size possible. But she does that too with like hot chocolate. She'll order like the kid size hot chocolate. She'll take a couple sips out of it. She likes the concept of it, but not like the execution of it. Anyway, the whole point of this is to tell you the thing she got was a manicure and pedicure. Or a medicure and pedicure, as she calls it, which I think is super cute. So actually I have my nails done. She wanted hot pink and light pink. And she wanted it on her fingers and her toes. And she was very, very particular. And she wanted to see if she could get like hearts drawn on it. But I was like, girl, you got really tiny fingers because you really tiny hands. I don't know if they can put one on that little or not. So she was like, okay. So she ended up alternating and got light pink and dark pink. So it'd be like light pink, dark pink, light pink, dark pink, light pink, dark pink, light, whatever. And it was very, very cute. And she did a really great job. Unfortunately, I tried taking her to a very local nail salon. We've been there a few times. And just in case anyone's curious, like I don't take my child for regular manicures and pedicures. One of the reasons why I do encourage let's get her a pedicure is so she figure skates. Her feet need a little bit of extra love, but she will not let me touch her feet at all. Like she will not let me trim her toenails, and her toenails will get so long that they like curl over the end of her toe, and I'm like, that cannot be comfortable in your skates. Now I'm the wrong person to talk to because I am somebody like I keep my toenails very short, like way shorter than the average person. Like I just don't like that feeling. If I can feel my toe inside the edge of my sock or shoe or something, I'm done. Like it's too much. And she just doesn't seem bothered by that, but she has really sensitive feet and just doesn't want anyone touching them. Now, she let my husband sort of trim her toenails recently, but the whole time it was like kind of kicking her feet around and like not making it easy, if you will. So there's a place near us that I've taken her to. The problem is the last like 2 times that we've gone, they did her entire manicure and pedicure before they even started mine. And then she's sitting there for a lot longer because my nails are longer. My nails are bigger. They take longer to dry, you know. It takes longer to do my service because they're really working on the cuticles. Whereas her, they're just kind of like shaping her nails and putting the lotion on her and painting her nails. And so the last time we were there, like they seemed very frustrated that she was getting antsy. And I was like, well, you started her... You finished her manicure and pedicure before you even started mine, and then you wanted her to sit there, and also like I couldn't help. Like I can't be using my hands if you're giving me a manicure. But if we're both getting them done at the same time, then I can sit next to her and try to keep her as occupied by like talking to her and, oh, let me see your nails and all these things. So I wanted to go somewhere else. So there was a recommendation for another nail salon in my town that somebody had said they have the little pedicure chairs that are Little Mermaid or Elsa or whatever it is. And I was like, perfect. So I called them and I said, hi, I was wanting to make an appointment for a manicure and a pedicure for myself and my 6-year-old daughter. And they said to me that they will not do a pedicure for a 6-year-old. It will just be a polish change. They will not like soak her feet. She's too little and all these things. And I was like, what? Like you have the kids' chairs. I don't know if the person on the phone just really didn't want to have a child in the salon that day or whatever the case may be, but I was really turned off by the way it was handled. Because I had a lot of people like reach out to me and they're like, oh no, I take my daughter there all the time and she's younger than your daughter. And I was like, I understand what you're saying, but if the person answering the phone making the appointments is telling me that they will not give my daughter a pedicure, I'm not going to go bombard them and be like, okay, I'm here for the pedicure you said I couldn't have. You know what I mean? Like what's the point? I also don't want to be somewhere that I'm not wanted. So I drove much further than I would have liked to a salon in the Harrisburg area. And it was fantastic, you guys. I was so blown away with how well they treated her. They had a little Frozen. They had an Anna and an Elsa chair. Of course, she wanted Elsa, but Anna was the one next to me, so she was ho-humming. But they gave her fruit snacks and a little juice pouch and, like, took such good care of her. And she, at one point, was like, I look over and you... that look of relaxation, and she just goes, yeah, I really needed this. I wanted to be like, girlfriend, how difficult is your life? You're 6 years old. People do things for you all day long. But, you know, you were enjoying yourself, and I'm glad you were, kiddo, because it was, you guys, I was laughing so hard. She was just in heaven, and it was great. And I let her know, like, please don't pick your nail polish. It's the only thing I don't like about getting her a manicure is that usually, like, the same day, she rips all the nail polish off, which is one reason why I won't do gel, because I know it'll last longer, but I also know that if she picks it and, like, she'll destroy her nails underneath, and I'm not really about that life. But there was another little one that was, like, 3 years old getting a pedicure while we were there, so they obviously know how to handle small children very well, and the owner, I think it was the owner that did her nails, he was telling us how he's got a kid her age, and then their younger one is turning 4, and it was just, we had a really great experience, and I highly recommend, if you're in the Harrisburg area, it's called A&D Nails, and it was fantastic, and it was right next door to a place that we went and got some lunch. It was funny, because it was like a little bit of a fancy lunch for her, but she's like on this cocktail kick. I still don't know where she learned about cocktails, because like we don't really drink, and if we do, it's not in front of her. Like I very, very rarely drink. But I said, well, they have mocktails. Do you want to get a mocktail? And she picked one, and I knew that it was probably a little sophisticated for her palate, but if that's what she wanted, you know, I would drink the rest of it. Of course, she took one sip of it, and she was like, this is tart. I'm like, yeah, girl. Was she? And I enjoyed it. But I'm glad I didn't order it, like, just for her, because I would have been disappointed that I spent all that money on something. Which is why I didn't offer one of the other options, because I was like, if she doesn't like it, I don't want to drink that. But yeah, it was a really, really lovely day, and I'm really glad that we did that. And then, if you guys have Sheetz, which is a gas station near you, I am not an ice cube snob, but like one thing that makes me ridiculously happy is I like to get, oh my gosh, the monitor's in my pocket. Why does it sound so muffled? Because it's in my pocket. And also, somehow the volume is turned down. I really like their ice. And so sometimes my husband will be like, I'm running your Sheetz. Do you need anything? And I'm like, can you just get me a cup of ice? It's just 25 cents for just a cup of ice. Like, no beverage or anything like that. And then I put it in my Stanley or my whatever tumbler. And I can have really cold water, but like with good ice cubes. I like that. Something so little, but it makes me so happy. Okay, these are starting to pop over here. I have my roller out, which, you guys, I haven't used this roller in so long. Like, I took it from the other desk, and like, I don't know if you guys can see that on camera. Like, there's like, there you go, dust all in there, which was not a smart idea. I'm allergic to dust. That was one of the things I found out when I got all that allergy testing done, like when I turned 40. Yeah, dust and grass. You guys, when they told me that I was allergic to grass, I was like, are you sure? I'm like, I know people who are like allergic to grass. You know what I mean? I will be outside while my husband's mowing the yard, and it doesn't bother me. Not to say that it's not bothering me, like, internally, like, respiratory-wise, but oh, my coffee is almost melted. Wednesday, I took her to school, and then after school, we had to stop at Walmart. The day before, when I had done the grocery run, I was really disappointed. I wanted to get some tostadas we made. They were so easy, and they were delicious, honestly. This week, I decided I wasn't going to use the crock pot, which I still have thoughts on why I did that, but I wanted more like lighter dishes, and I also needed things that I could do really quickly, because I don't want to make a dish that's going to take a really long time after I pick my husband up from work or we get home from ice skating or whatever it is. That's why I use the crock pot as often as I do. So this particular meal, it was just black beans that you just heat through, and then you kind of smush them onto tostadas that you'd melted cheese onto. And that was it. That's, you know, I made it with, I had homemade pico. We had some taco sauce, and that was it. That was the easy meal. The problem was all of the tostadas that they had at my supermarket, every single one of them had yellow 5 in it, or food coloring, artificial coloring in general. And I was like, I know that there are brands that don't have the dye. So I needed to go to Walmart because they have a pretty good selection, at least at ours, of more Latin products. So I was able to find more than one brand of tostadas that were dye-free, which made me very happy. And yeah, so I did that. And there was something else that we were looking for. Oh, you guys, my nuggies, my vegan nuggies plant-based nuggies that I like, I have not been able to find them in a very long time. And so I was like, maybe they have them at Walmart. Indeed, they did not. But we looked, and Briar was really sweet. She was like, Mommy, we should see if they have them here. And I was like, we should. And usually when we go to Walmart, it's like, well, can we just go look at toys? She did a really good job. She knew we were there on a mission. I think she just likes being able to be a part of the things. But then she ended up she loves these little Disney princess figures. They're $5 each. She has a huge collection of them. And they had them near checkout. And she was like, Mommy, is it okay if I just look? And I was like, yeah. And she did a really good job. So I was like, okay, well, is that the one you want? And she's like, you're letting me have it? And this is what I tried explaining to her. Like, if you ask me constantly to buy you stuff, the answer is going to be no. But if you are just observing and you're behaving really well and you're listening and you're following all the rules and you're doing all the things, then Mommy will reward you with things that you haven't asked for. And she was blown away. But we did that, and then we were on our way to pick up my husband. And for those who don't know, my husband works on the retail side at Hershey. And so if you've ever been to Chocolate World, they have a Chocolate World in Hershey, Pennsylvania, in Las Vegas, Nevada, and in New York City. But at least the one in Hershey has the Hershey Kissmobile, which is exactly what it sounds like. And it's been sitting in the parking lot for a really long time. Turns out there's a reason that it's not considered street legal anymore. I don't know the details, but it just sits there in the parking lot. Cool. No big deal. It's lots of fun. But as I'm pulling into the parking lot that day, I notice another mobile sitting right next to it. And indeed, it was the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. You guys, I was so excited. Sorry if you're wearing headphones. My daughter was like, nobody's going to know what that is. I'm like, oh my God, kid. Literally everyone over a certain age knows exactly what the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is. And she's like asking me all these questions, like, why is it so cool? And I'm like, girl, look at it. It's a giant hot dog driving down the street. What do you mean? Why is it cool? And she was like, oh, okay. So I pull up next to it to take some photos. You guys, the second I pull up next to it, it pulls away. I was so bummed. I did manage to like drive behind it in the parking lot and take like a little video. But you guys, that was one of the coolest moments ever. Have you ever seen the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile out in the wild? And if you are, let me know down below if you know what the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is. Because I swear, like I said to her, like she was like blown away that anybody would know what that is. And I was like, Briar, I'm telling you, everybody over a certain age knows what the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is. Now, I don't know what age that is. But, like, I know everyone in my generation and older knows what it is. And it was so cool. And I was like, damn, girl, you are so unimpressed. I mean, eventually she thought it was cool, but she didn't know why she thought it was cool. She probably just thought it was cool because Mommy was, like, geeking out about it. But, yeah, it was so cool. I've never seen it in real life. I mean, I've seen it, you know, on social media, and I've seen it on TV and in commercials and, you know, things like that. But I've never seen it in person. It was very, very cool. And at one point when I was much younger, my parents had said to me that they thought that would be a good job for me. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, just driving around the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. And I was like, I'm not following why you think that this would be a good fit for me. But apparently it's just because I'm very, like, I can talk a lot. yeah, I don't know. So I didn't even tell my parents that I saw the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. They'd probably think it was cool. And then the next day, my husband was off, so we took her to school, and I dressed her like Wednesday Addams, which made my heart really happy. For anyone who has a small child or grandchild similar in age to my kiddo, have you guys watched the Wednesday Addams series with them? Because I think she would love the Addams Family, but I don't know if Wednesday would be too grown up for her. I feel like the Christina Ricci version from the 90s she would enjoy, but then I'm like, maybe she wouldn't. We've done one of the animated ones, but it was cute. She let me put her hair in pigtails, which she never lets me do her hair, ever. And I had so much fun because her hair is dark right now because we dyed it like a blue-purple. And normally she's blonde, so it was a lot of fun. But she was excited, and of course she's asked me questions about it, and I'm like, I don't know if you're too young for that. And like she has seen Hocus Pocus multiple times, and she loves Hocus Pocus. I'm waiting to the part where she gets old enough to be like, Mommy, what does it mean to be a virgin? Then I'm gonna have that awkward conversation. But we've not gotten there yet, thankfully, knock on wood. But then she let me know today that she thought Coraline was scary. So I don't really know if Wednesday would be, I don't think it would be too scary, but I don't know that it's in her wheelhouse or the right age, if that makes sense. Let me know. But then anyway, after school, we picked her up and we went for some lunch together. She picked where we wanted to go. It was nice. My husband doesn't often have like days during the week off. I mean, he does, but not on days where like we have nothing going on. A lot of times it's days where we have a million things already happening. But it's nice to have Daddy around for, lunch dates and things like that. And the next day, my husband worked a weird shift. It was one of those ones where like I don't have enough time after I drop her off at school to really like go home or go get breakfast, but we have enough time to like grab a cup of coffee together. But then he gets home and it's already after dinner time, so it's just everything about it is awkward. And so that particular day we grabbed some coffee, and then after I picked up the kiddo, I took her for her private lesson in the afternoon. I just want to say, somebody on Instagram, I don't know what account this woman is, but if you guys are looking for like really easy, like prep ahead kind of meals for lunch boxes or, kids, I mean, it can be for adults too. They took the Hawaiian rolls and they slice them down, so it's basically like 2 giant sheets of bun, and then you just lay down like your deli meat and your cheese and all that, and then you put the top bun pack off, and then you cut them into the individual ones, and you put them into a Ziploc bag, and you put them in your freezer. And they work the same way like an Uncrustable does. You like pull it out before you need to eat, you let it like thaw out a little bit, and then you have a sandwich that you didn't have to prepare ahead of time. Also, I don't know, like, we are not great with deli meat in this house. Like, my kid she'll ask for sandwiches or whatever, and then, like, deli meat is only good for a couple days after you open it. So this is a great idea because you can get your money's worth out of the meat without having to, like, have it sit in your fridge and hope it doesn't go bad or get slimy before you finish it. But also, now I don't have to make her lunch. Like, I just pull it out, and then she grabs some fruit or some chips or some whatever to go with it. But anyway, so the whole reason I said that is after her lesson, we went to Costco to drop off a form for a sandwich tray that we are getting for the retreat. And we also then went over to Target. I traded in her car seat. My child is not heavy enough to sit in a booster quite yet. But I traded in her car seat that, like, somebody hit our car while it was sitting in a parking lot, and our car seat company requires that you remove it for any accident, minor or major. Some companies have different rules. And so I was like, well, I might as well trade it in and get the coupon. And so I purchased her a booster for when she is big enough for it. She's a couple pounds off. She's obviously old enough for a booster at 6.5, but she does not meet the weight requirements as of yet. And that's totally fine. I'm not rushing to have her, but I wanted to have one that would be pretty easy that, you know, if she went with like a grandmother in a car, that there would be something that they could easily put her in, as opposed to our travel vest that takes a lot more understanding and finesse to use. It's great, but I don't think that either set of grandparents have the attention span to like truly learn how to use it, and this would make me feel more comfortable in the long run. So we did all of that, and it worked out well, because by the time we were done that, we went and picked my husband up and then went home and had those tostadas for dinner. The next day was Saturday. My kiddo recently started skating in Aspire, which is like the next level up of group lessons. And the skating director let us know that they picked out costumes. And really what it is like a sparkly, like, bolero cardigan, like, sequin thing. The problem is they need to have something that's going to fit everything from, like, my daughter and one other girl are the littlest ones. The other little girl's a year younger than Briar, but they're about the same height. The other girl is actually bigger than my daughter, but they're about the same height. And all the way up to, like, teenagers. So it's hard to find something that's going to work for the theme and work for everything. So I'm very nervous. It's being delivered today, but it's like a size 6, and I don't know if it's just going to be massive on her or not. But it's also one of those things that it's not an ice skating costume. Like, it's literally just a sequined cardigan. So she could get good use out of it. And I'm sure she will want to wear it as, like, a sparkly sweater. But after Aspire, we went to a hockey tournament to raise money for multiple sclerosis. So my daughter has never seen a hockey game. She sees, like, the hockey players all the time because she lives at an ice rink, but she's never actually seen a hockey game. So Morgan, shout out to Morgan, she is now the hairdresser for my daughter and myself. She is a long-time hockey player and hairstylist extraordinaire, and she invited us to come watch her tournament. And I said, sure, I think Briar would love that. So she fell in love, and she had such a good time. And it was funny because Morgan was like, I've got Bears tickets, which is the minor league team based in Hershey. And she's all, like, excited to take Briar to a Bears game already. And I'm like, girl, let's just see how she does with your game before we play. Now, I got to say, the team that she was playing against, they slaughtered both teams. But the team that she was playing against in that first game, they won 6-0. But, oh my God, did that goalie put in the work. She was blocking. I mean, yeah, she let 6 in, but 6 out of, like, 100. So many good shots on her, and she was a great goalie. I was really impressed. I played ice hockey when I was younger, and I, too, was a goalie. But my favorite part was when my daughter was like, the goalie doesn't do anything. The goalie just sits there. And I was like, no, the goalie is, like, essential, girlfriend. But she said to me, it was the sweetest thing. She goes, Mommy, you know, when I grow up, I don't know if I want to play hockey or not. And I don't know if she thinks that there's, like, this progression from figure skater to ice hockey player. But I was like, you don't have to play hockey. You can be just a figure skater forever. She's like, really? So, that was cute. But we also did a raffle afterwards, which she was so confused by, because she's like, what, but I want this. And I was like, I understand, kiddo, but that's how raffles work. It's a gamble. You don't know if you're going to be the one to win it, but the money goes to charity and it goes to something good. And, it was just We didn't win anything, FYI, but she, it was so hard for her to make a decision on, like, what she wanted. And I was like, it's okay. You know, there's no wrong answer here. And then we went for a very, very late lunch, which was exhausting, because she was just... My child doesn't recognize that she's hungry, which is a very big issue. And she is, like, your textbook definition of, like, what hangry looks like. But she just gets, like, super angry and super aggressive, and she doesn't realize it's because she's hungry. And when she gets to that point, like, she just doesn't want to eat. And I'm like, girl. And finally, we were like, girlfriend, you need to put some food in your belly. And all of a sudden, her mood shifted. She also tried telling me, which I thought was cute, in a sarcastic way, that, like, when I was telling her, you know, when you behave like this, it's because you're hungry and you need food in your belly. And she goes, how would you know that? And I go, because I'm your mother. And she goes, mommies don't know those kinds of things. And I just looked at her and I go, good mommies do. And she just looked back at me. It's like, girl, I've been your mommy for 6.5 years. I know what that means. But, so that should be real fun next year in first grade when she actually has to have lunch. But, I think that's a good place to end, because didn't really do a whole lot on Sunday, and I'll talk about that, but I think that's it, you guys. So let me know if you guys know, like, about the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, and if you made it all the way to the end, let me get some hot dog emojis, just because, and I don't remember what I was going to say. I just lost my train of thought. If you guys enjoyed this video, and you'd like to see more videos like this, or nothing like this at all, please make sure to give this video 2 thumbs up. One real life, one virtual. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Come. Join the Sparkle Squad, and while you're there, hit that notification bell. I do not operate on any sort of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time, and I record when my tiny human is sleeping, or like today, sleeping. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys!